With only 4 races left this season, each of our class leaders have built quite the gap in points. However, both faltered last round, eating into the safety net they've built. Can they rebound at one of the most famous sports car tracks in North America? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Porsche Owners Club Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Rouse Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes, our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road Atlanta truly is a destination for road racers. Let's find out more about it with our track guide. Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming Turn 5. The wide curving lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course IMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track. As much as this place has a history with sports cars, when it comes to the interclass traffic, Joey, it's going to be interesting today.
It can be very busy around this Brazelton, Georgia circuit. 12 turns, 2.5 miles in length, and yeah, when you start to put multi-class traffic on here, it can get very busy. We've seen some incredible real-world races with Petit Le Mans being hosted here in October every single year, but a couple little highlight areas. I think turn number 1 is always really tricky. You kind of have to overspeed it going in. In the sim here, turn number 3, the top of the hill, is always visually very difficult in order to place the car. The turn number 5, apex and exit curbs, can definitely be disastrous depending on how you attack them. Turn number 7 is probably the most crucial turn on this entire racetrack because it leads out onto that back straightaway into the biggest and best passing zone on this racetrack, the turn 10A, 10B section. And then really from there, Joe, it's just up and over, across the hill there, and down through start-finish line.
Sounds simple, right? Well,
simple.
Yeah. See if it's simple for our drivers. Before we get any further into that, though, we want to mention our sponsors. First of all, there's Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And then, of course, Top Gun MG, helping financial advisors be the best of the best. Contact them today at TopGunMG.com. That's TopGunMG.com. As for our championship, it's been a bit interesting here. For the prototypes, BJ Fulton currently on top, 132 points to the 85 of AJ Roper. Now, Arnold is going to try his best to catch up, and it has been getting good results, but it's a couple of zeros that really hurt him, whereas BJ Fulton has scored in every single round. And this is even after you take into account the drop weeks, and AJ is still those 47 points behind. Michael Johnson, a single point behind him as well, but he's had a bit of an up and down season, so not sure if he can keep up the pressure and maybe try and catch up to BJ or not. Back down is Jad Duncan, who's another 2 points behind, so he's also perhaps a factor in this if he could try to play catch up, as Dylan Scott, another 4 points back, rounds out your top 5. From there, it finally starts to separate a little farther down to the rest of the top 10. We also have a GT1 class. Joey, why don't you take us through that?
Yeah, these drivers are using those GT3 cars, and Matt Steele is up on front, but his 7-race win streak was snapped the last time out. Doug Bacchignone is a little bit behind there. I think it really tightens up. You see that big kind of damage is done situation between first and second. I think that Mark Rondeau did a fantastic job that last round snagging away that win, so it really moves him very, very close to second place, arguing with Doug Bacchignone there. And then also, look at Federico Del Toro. He's been very, very consistent over the last handful of rounds there, pretty much always being on the podium. Jeff Shulam sitting inside the top 5 as well in the points, and then it kind of drops off a little bit. John Momeyer, Larry Haas, Robert Leclerc, Matt Hollander, and also Jim Garamani all involved in the top 10.
Del Toro's been knocking on the door for a win lately. He's come so close a couple times. We'll see if today's the day. But let's see what today's race involves in and of itself, which is going to be our traditional sprint format. 30 minutes, and there's your 2 different cars that you've got in each of the classes. The Porsche 911 GT3R, that's your GT1 class. And then the GTPs are your Porsche 963 GTP. This is round 10 out of 13, as I mentioned. 4 races left to go to try and decide the second championship of 2024. And it is open setup this season. That's the big difference compared to the previous couple seasons here in the POC, is that the drivers can now tweak and tune on these cars to get the best out of them, especially with how complicated those GTP cars are. That could be real critical to finding pace out there. Now, if you want to find pace, one of the best ways is to get on iRacing in the first place, and this is the best time possible to do so. Black Friday deals are now underway. They do this once a year. It's always the best deal that you can get all year long. 50% off if you're a new member, 25% off if you're renewing or if you're reactivating your account. Go to iRacing.com/Black Friday and you can get a hold of this deal. I've already signed back up. I always take advantage of this every single year when they do it, and can't recommend it enough for anybody interested in getting involved, as it's a fantastic deal. So looks like we've got qualifying underway. The big thing that I'm noticing, we were talking about Del Toro and Steele there at the front of the GT1s. Federico currently is our quickest, but it's not by a lot. And as soon as I say that, Matt Steele just took the top spot away by 17 thousandths of a second. It's still tight.
They have a pesky way of doing that, and just a little bit too hot up over the top of the hill there for Matt Steele, so he's going to have to hit that reset button, maybe get back out there. Since it is the open setup, these guys should have a qualifying setup. Only enough fuel in there to last it maybe a couple laps, maybe a few laps, depending on how each driver kind of likes to get up to speed. Sometimes these cars can be a little bit twitchy on those cold tires on light fuel on that opening, especially the outlap.
After last round's disaster for BJ Fulton, he's back out to the front on pole up there for the prototypes. This is Garamani, currently sitting 18th overall, 9th in his class. He's coming around for another lap here and has enough time to probably do about 2 more. That last was his quickest, but unfortunately, that's not going to put him ahead of John Momeyer. He comes 4 thousandths of a second shy.
Good to see Jim out there doing some laps, as BJ Fulton looks like he might have had a little bit of an issue at the exit of turn number 5. That's one of the areas I mentioned in that kind of track rundown there. You have to be so aggressive at the bottom of the S's here at Road Atlanta, but if you clip the apex curb, it can kind of send the car into a wild bouncing area, and then you're going to clip the exit curb, and it's just all downhill from there as AJ Roper finds a area on the outside of turn number 12 to get into the wall.
Despite Fulton having a bad day last time, Roper had a worse one, only scored a single point, and he's sitting fourth, so it's not looking good in his hopes of trying to chase down BJ for the championship this time around, unless he has maybe a switch of fortunes come race time. But it's getting to be the end of this Q session, so unless he pulls one out of his hat, he's going to be starting a couple rows behind, or a row behind, technically, BJ Fulton.
That's a good shot there from turn number 5 as Dylan Scott kind of screams his way down the little short chute straightaway into this turn 6. Turn 7 right here, the slowest corner on the racetrack, but it is so important to be able to put the power down. I mentioned it goes onto the longest straightaway here at Road Atlanta. That means the highest top speed, and if you got a car in front of you, you try to utilize that little bit of draft. And in a racing situation, this corner right here, this is the biggest brake zone, so it does provide a nice passing opportunity.
Dylan Scott might be done with qualifying. It's going to be very, very tight. Few seconds left down to the line. Does he cross and get the checkered flag? Yes, indeed he does. And Dylan will not improve, so he'll stay in P5. BJ Fulton still with our quickest time right now. He parks it on pit lane. He's done. Duncan is in pit lane, so he's done. And then Michael Johnson just completed his last lap, so he does no better than third. As we watch Doug Bacchignon come out of turn 7 and onto the back straight as well, trying to improve on his 4th position.
I think that Doug has been doing a really good job. He started out the season, remember, with a win in that opening round, had a couple second places to back it up, but then kind of fell in the middle of the pack throughout the middle of the season here. He was on the podium that last round with a 3rd place. Right now sitting provisionally P4 in qualifying. I think that if he can maybe even increase his, or I should say decrease his time, go a little bit faster here, should put him in some nice track position for today's race. Let's see what this comes across at the start-finish line, a 119.019. That actually moves him up into 3rd.
Nicely done. Right at the last time of asking, Doug Bacchignon is going to now find himself on P3. So excellent job. That does finish our qualifying. We'll get to the starting order in a bit, but I think one of the big things we were talking about a little bit earlier will play a big factor in this one, and that is the traffic, Joey. Who can manage it when they come around to lap those GT cars? Because the first half of the track is kind of unforgiving in that way.
There's a few, call it single file areas. There's a few funnel sections, and you're right. I would say the majority of them are, call it from turn number 1 to turn number 5. And that's also in some tough visual cue areas too. The prototypes are going to have to be patient, and the GT cars are going to have to be able to see that rearview mirror.
Well, we're going to be looking out the windscreen first, because now it's time to go to our starting grid. BJ Fulton is on the pole with Jad Duncan starting next to him. It is Michael Johnson in P3, AJ Roper only 4th today in Q. You've got Dylan Scott starting 5th. We'll have to see if he can repeat the heroics of last time, get another win. Will Castillo will be P6, and then Ian Roche is in 7th. From there, Dustin Heindel starts in 8th today, and Michael Bolton rounds out your 9 prototype field.
It was incredibly close for pole here in the GT1 category, but it was Matt Steele that is on top of 118.903. Federico Del Toro will start next to him on row number 1 in 2nd place. Doug Bacchignon with that great lap at the very, very end there slips into 3rd with Mark Rondeau next to him in 4th. Jeff Shulam starting in 5th. Adam Abrams in 6th. Jim Garamani starting 7th. Larry Haas 8th. And then out of the 9-car field, John Momeyer will round out on row number 5.
So there you go. 18 cars getting ready to start this race today. Decent field for this group. I'd say a pretty good, healthy field to compete around what is a relatively short lap. But the one thing that I'm curious about is how much that slipstream is going to be worth on the backstretch. Joey, what are you thinking between the two classes? How close do you need to be to really feel it?
I think in order to make a passing move here at Road Atlanta, you probably need to be within a half second. You can start to feel it within about 1 second, 1.2 seconds, but in order for it to be powerful enough to pull you along up alongside and then actually make the lunge in the brake zone, I think a half second or closer. But here at Road Atlanta, you do get varying downforce levels. I expect most to be on more of a medium downforce setup today.
Let's see who tries that, who's willing to trim it out and is able to survive some of the twistier bits on that lower downforce. Meanwhile, pace car is getting ready to release BJ Fulton. Let's see if we get through the first lap clean without a caution flag. Pace car is in and the green flag is out. Fulton accelerates away and Jad was caught napping. He falls back to third immediately. Michael Johnson moving into P2 as they fly into turn one. Let's make sure we get through here clean. It's good for the prototypes and good for the GT1s.
Yeah, the GT1s, we did have a lead swap. Federico Del Toro leads that class up at the top of the hill here. Matt Steele just didn't get the timing right on the initial start. Now we got problems going down the hill in the back of the GTP field. I believe that was Dylan Scott with heavy contact to the wall.
Big contact. You can see the damage as he tries to just bring it back home. He has a spare car waiting for him, but that is going to set him well back as the first lap has been a disaster. Now they come onto the backstretch for the first time as we watch our leaders. Del Toro having managed to sneak by. Can he finally beat Matt Steele on track?
I think that's what he's hoping for, but he's got to run away as fast as he can right now. I think just behind, it was Mark Rondeau in that third place position. Had a little bit of a slip up coming out of turn number 7, and Abrams is all over the back. He pops out to driver's right. That's the racing line, so Rondeau is going to go defensive into the brake zone. Mark really late on the brakes, still gets the car stopped, and keeps that third position.
That puts Adams back into fourth once again. And I can tell you that it looks like Dylan Scott was able to drive the car back to pit lane. So at least he'll be able to try and carry on. And look at that. We made it without a caution flag coming out on the first lap. So great job by the field on that one. As we see Abrams behind him, it looks like Garamani and Momeyer were going side by side. And just as I say that, they just had contact. And Jad Duncan as well. Oh my goodness, what an awful start for Jad from the front row now to 8th as he's got damage.
Oh, and more off. I believe that's Will Castillo off in turn number 7. So just things starting to unravel a little bit on lap number 2. I kind of have to take a look at first at this replay. Let's see what happened. This is Dylan Scott. Just looks like cold tires, Joe, and he was out in that dirty line, just kind of way out there in no man's land, and kind of looped around on him when he stood on the gas.
Looks like cold tires have caught out a number of drivers. This has been a tough start to this race, and Duncan's doing his best to also get back to his spare car because he's got a meatball flag as we got side by side between Matt Steele and Del Toro. Steele takes the lead back, and watch out for Rondeau. He's hovering behind them, hoping that he can maybe pick up some of this too.
I wonder if there was a bad lap here from Federico or something to kind of allow Matt Steele to close it in, and Rondeau, I know that they were all pretty close together, and this is only lap number 3, but it seemed like a big shuffle in speed, especially since that number 27 car really took advantage on the start. I thought that maybe he was going to have a little bit more race pace because of that.
Well, this angle on the nose from Mark Rondeau. He chases on Del Toro now. Remember, Mark was our winner last time. Ooh, and he's got a very good exit. Will we see a defense? Yes, he's going to try and cover him off, but it's a half-hearted move from Del Toro, and still Rondeau's not close enough that he is willing to try it into 6.
Got to be careful here. Del Toro takes a really nice late apex while Rondeau was a little bit more aggressive in the first half of the corner there. He is in the slipstream, but you don't want to let our leader just start to get out there too far away. You want to stay in that slipstream range, and if you can even learn from Matt Steele, remember, all of these drivers are in the same car. Maybe not the same setup, but there are cues, there are brake markers, there are apex points that might be a little bit different that you can pick up on if he is faster.
Oh, and Del Toro says he's got a penalty It looks like a slowdown, so he must have cut the inside of the chicane a little bit too tight. He hands it over, and Rondeau now up into P2. Can he take the fight to Steele?
A little bit of a shame there as we watch Ian Roche go onto the back straightaway. Let's see what this Jad Duncan replay was. Remember, we got the tail end of this, and it's just all the way on the exit curbs. It's actually past the exit curbs, and then, oh my goodness, who was that? Was that Dustin Heindel that avoided that?
No, I think that was Castillo, actually, who's riding in an orange car, it looks like, today, in the number 16. But yeah, man, just had to have been a super scary moment for him on that one. As we check back in with Federico now, and that you can see the pain that he's taken from that slowdown penalty. Rondeau already about a second up the road.
And I think we actually had another incident in the GTP field, or maybe AJ Roper just had a disconnect, but that orange 07 is no longer on the racetrack.
Oof. Well, that is not good news for him. Also, we seem to have had that same issue for Doug Bacchignone at the start of the race. He has since gotten back out, but that's why you see him showing a lap down here, as that was way off to the side there for Marc Rondeau, pushing the limits of the track. And same thing for Jad Duncan. It looks like he'll keep it out of the wall, but he's just kind of taking the shortcut here. He is going to have to give that time back. Whoa! Oh, no, that did not work like he hoped.
No, unfortunately it did not. But hey, Joe, they do have two faster pairs, so just have Chad Duncan go down in there, probably grab that second faster pair, and then he can get back out there, start doing some laps. I've been very, very impressed with the performance of this driver that we're focusing on. Marc Rondeau, the gray car with the orange mirrors and wing. He has done a terrific job trying to gain that momentum back going in the back half of this championship. I had mentioned he had just come off a podium that last round out there, and now with a good qualifying effort finds himself in second position and within touch of our leader.
Yeah, this has been a really uptick in performance from Marc Rondeau. So within 0.8 of a second, certainly nothing to scoff at, because as we've seen, Matt Steele has been very tough to catch at times, but a lot of drivers have stepped up their game. I think Rondeau and Del Toro especially are showing that the man of steel is human after all.
Check in on Jeff Shulam back here. He's chasing down Adam Abrams directly in front of him. This is the battle for what is fourth place on the racetrack. We kind of have that three-car battle up front of Steele, Rondeau, Del Toro. And then this two-pack right here of Abrams and Shulam. Watch him come down through the Road Atlanta S's and down through that compression. As Joe, do you see what's coming up in the mirrors? It's the GTP cars.
It is indeed, with quite the fight. That's Bolton, Roche, and Castillo. That's all for position for fourth place, essentially. And with them so tight together, they're all going to be looking to try and pick up what they can. And was that an issue there for Bolton that we saw? It looked like he was slow for a moment, or thought I saw a puff of smoke.
I think we're dealing with another car blinking out or something going on there. I think maybe Ian Roche had an issue as well as blinking. I'm a little bit as confused as you are right now.
Yeah, I looked away for a second, and I looked back, and I couldn't figure out what exactly I was watching there, as somebody's kicking up dust coming down into the chicane. Though, in the meantime, you could see some tire tracks straight across, and that must be Michael Johnson, since he's the next car up the road.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try to back it up on my screen, see exactly what happened. I had mentioned that we had just started getting into the GT1 traffic. I wonder if that had anything to do with it, or if maybe it was just a self-inflicted error. Oh my goodness, look at how busy it is up there at turn number 3. I believe that was Bolton locking up, getting out of the way, as now Castillo goes down and clears those GT cars.
Yeah, everybody is catching up to Adam Abrams, who still runs fourth in the GT1s. Did a very good job managing it, because everybody's obviously quite eager to get by, and didn't let it phase him. He's just kind of running his own race, even though he's dropped off the top 3 in his class.
They'll kind of spread out a little bit, so we're going to take a look at this replay. This is Jim Garamani and I believe John Momeyer. This was up at the top of the hill in turn number 3. They came into side-by-side contact right here. And there goes a second bit of contact. No, not a second bit. It was just Jim spinning out and backing it into that concrete wall.
It's so hard to get it stopped in time. That wall is so close, and it bit him in the end. Back to the fight amongst our GTP cars. Now for the battle for P3 instead of P4 because of Michael Johnson's spin that apparently he had back at the chicane. I went back and checked myself. Hope we get a replay of that one because it was certainly an interesting one. He is getting seriously held up by Matt, and this is allowing Will to put some serious pressure on.
And as we watch this, I do have to report that unfortunately Mark Rondeau had some contact with a lapped car and it spun him and made contact with the left side wall. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage. He fell from second back to third. Let's see if Castillo can kind of get the exit here that he needs coming out of turn number 7. Used the slipstream on Michael Johnson, but Michael's car seemed to kind of squirt out of that corner pretty good with a nice acceleration phase, and not only that, the top speeds look pretty similar.
This is where he had his issue before, in the brake zone of the chicane. This time, he's got it under control. Will's looking strong at this stage, though, because he's been gaining bit by bit on Michael, although he's a little slow, in fact, quite slow coming off of the chicane. Looks much closer than this on the way into it.
Remember, these are open setups. It could be that we're seeing more of a point-and-shoot car from Castillo and maybe a car that can get sliced through the corners a little bit better with Michael Johnson, but it could also be that Will maybe overheated the tires a little bit trying to catch up to Michael, and now he's just kind of paying the price and having to manage it that little bit. These GTP cars are just so gosh dang fast. Even if you just miss one apex or 1 point out there in your driving line, you can lose quite a bit of track time.
That's what we saw from that bright orange number 16. We've got a replay, and this is going to be Johnson. This is actually a little bit of a neat little save. Car goes completely around 360, points it the right way. He gets it on the track eventually, but boy, he lost a lot of time.
Those rear brakes on those GTP cars are kind of the finicky part, right? It's what holds the hybrid systems back there, and it also regenerates. So it can be a little bit tricky, and if you don't have that bias dialed perfectly, or maybe if you squeeze that brake pedal pressure a little bit too much, you can kind of result in exactly what we saw from Michael Johnson.
Well, this time around, last time we had Dylan Scott with a great run to the win, and Dustin Heindel's not winning this race right now, but he's in second, and he's gained 6 positions from where he started. So I have to give credit to the number 15. The first half of this race has really been an excellent run from him.
And it's just about keeping it consistent from here on out, right? We're approaching the halfway mark. We didn't have that early yellow flag, so you just got to get into a rhythm right now, start clicking off laps, and start clicking off consistent laps. I would say that he's doing a good job because his last lap was his fastest at a 109.0. Let's see what it is this time by. You just want to keep it consistent, a 108.7. So it could be that as the fuel is burning off, the car is getting lighter, and the driver is doing his job.
So behind him, he does have Michael Johnson. Johnson's last lap also a 1:08.7. So didn't really gain much that time by. We'll keep an eye on that distance to see if he can catch back up and challenge the number 15 car up and over turn 5 for Dustin Heindel. Thankfully avoids the pitfalls many have fallen to in that left-hander. And then here comes the back straightaway where he's actually going to catch some traffic, and that's going to be absolute perfect timing for him.
Maybe even use a little bit of the slipstream. Just present the car early enough on which direction you want to go. It always is a pet peeve of mine in iRacing that a lot of the prototype guys, not necessarily in this series per se, but a lot of the prototype guys just draft off of the GT cars and then pop out at the very, very last second. look at the patience from BJ Fulton. He didn't try to push the issue in turn number 12. He presented the car to the inside to drivers right when he wanted to get around him in that acceleration phase, and then just went ahead and made the pass. The more you present the car in a clean and deliberate manner of where you want to go, it just lets the other driver know.
I think that's why we see 3 wins and 6 podiums on his scorecard already this season and leading the championship. This has been smart drives from BJ Fulton, and I think he's kind of exemplifying that once again. Yes, he lost some time to Dustin Heindel, but he's built it up to the point that 3.7 seconds is nothing to worry about at this stage. And now we officially hit the halfway point here, reaching the end of this lap with 15 minutes left to go. Michael Bolton is still chasing on Ian Roche, but he has a bit of a problem coming off of turn 7. That was a weird one.
Well, he's got damage on the car, Joe. I'm sure we're going to get a replay. We were talking about the patience from BJ Fulton. Unfortunately, Michael Bolton was not very patient going into what was turn number 5 with the GT car. Made contact as he tried to kind of squeeze his way through, and then made contact with the tire wall on the right side. I expect this car to come hard right into pit lane, take that fast repair, and then get back out there on the racetrack.
Good catch on that one. He kind of slammed to the wall on pit entry, but it doesn't really matter when you have that spare car waiting, because that puts everything back in perfect working order, so doesn't really need this one anymore. As we look at Jeffrey Shulam now, that is BJ Fulton, our leader, trying to go by. He's going to allow him through. Up ahead of him is Adam Abrams in that 4th position. He's a little far back and definitely lost a bit, allowing that prototype to sneak by on the short chute.
This is going to be a busy moment down here in turn number 10A between GTP cars coming up fast right here. Looks like they are going to clear them by the brake zone, which is very convenient. That could have been a little bit of a tense moment, because 10A, 10B is definitely a funnel. You can go too wide through there, but you just want to have some coordination. And now, once again, GTP slipping to the inside. Thankfully, Jeff Shulam out here is being aware of what's coming up in his mirror.
I was going to say, he's awful polite and giving up quite a bit in some corners, but I guess better to see the checkered flag than trying to save 0.2 of a second around some of these corners. Back to Michael Johnson. I asked whether or not he could catch Dustin Heindel. That's going to be a big affirmative, because here he is.
See what he can do. This is coming down into turn number 6. If I was betting, I would bet that he's going to set up turn number 7 right here. Really try to get the power down and have a good drive off, which he does. He is right in the tire tracks, and there's that pet peeve of mine, Joe. Drafting off of a GT car, and then he slips back in line with Heindel, trying to maximize this tow effort here. Michael's going to go stay on the racing line, opt not to try to outbrake him, and Heindel does stay on the track, so it's going to be a defense. Here comes the power down, the over-under from Michael Johnson, nicely executed.
Smart move from Johnson. He'll just catch that GT car at the right time. That's Del Toro. A little bit later than that, he may have found himself in some trouble. So they start the latest lap up the hill, and interestingly, they're only 2 seconds behind BJ Fulton. They've been catching him, it looks like.
I think it goes back to what we saw when we were riding on board, is that BJ has taken 0 risks getting through the GT field, so he's being very, very polite. I feel that maybe once he kind of gets out here in this next lap or two with nobody in front of his windshield, he might be able to start to lay down those faster laps again.
Yeah, that was the leader he just went by, so he's got some room before he gets to Doug, who is going to be the next car up ahead. And then it's, again, blank before they reach John Momeyer. So there's some gaps to allow him to push. Let's watch and see what the pace looks like. They'll break down into the chicane. Last time around was a 1:10.8 for BJ. Michael was a 1:9.4, but again, that could have been somewhat due to the traffic. They'll cross. BJ runs a 1:10.4, while Michael runs a 1:9.7.
I think this lap that we're watching right now should be a good representation, because as you can see, there isn't anybody in front of BJ Fulton, especially through this tricky turn 1, 2, 3, down the hill into 5. Really the entire first sector at Road Atlanta. If you get behind in one corner, it can cost you a bunch of time. And already it seems like BJ's starting to stretch it out. 1.7 seconds between himself and Michael now.
A replay. And this is with Michael Bolton. Oh, no, this was the initial one that you reported on. And, that was a pretty big hit. No wonder he had to take the spare car.
I can report, though, he is back out there on the racetrack, so he's currently running our last of the running cars in the GTP field as we check back in on Dustin Heindel chasing down Michael Johnson coming up on one of these GT cars. That was a little bit of a moment there. Coming out of turn number 12, kind of balked. The momentum from this purple number 9 just allows Heindel to close it in that one more time.
So Johnson not only loses a little touch with Fulton, but could be under threat with Dustin Heindel. Not the space that he wants to be in right now. He'd rather be on the attack, and he's got another car, Momeyer, just in front of him. That'll slow him down, but looks like it wasn't bad enough that it gave a chance to Dustin Heindel. But again, it's back up to nearly 3 seconds. It is swings and roundabouts up at the top of the prototypes.
I think that BJ Fulton is just doing a really good job managing it. Maybe got a little bit close there with the gap between himself and Johnson, but it wasn't any worry, right? Once he got in that clean air again, he was able to extend that gap. So just keep on being consistent with the drivers that you're coming up to. The more consistent you are in presenting the car, the more the other drivers and competitors will kind of get used to how you drive. Oh, this is a tense moment with Heindel with that car coming back on track.
Yeah, that was Larry Haas, and I'm not sure if he was trying a little too hard to give them space or if he actually made that mistake, because that's a strange place to go off over the hill, but he's still carrying on. I think he has some damage on the front of his car that I saw as we went by. So yeah, he may have had a serious issue there. Dustin Heindel has now lost touch with Johnson up to about 1.2 seconds. And okay, this will answer the question. That was, yes, indeed, damage on the nose as it fell off of Larry's car.
Turn 5. It's just always such a tricky corner. I keep talking about the apex and the exit curbs. I think that's the main culprit, but the entry curb can do it too. Just practice, and figure out where the car likes to be driven and really what shock setup works the best. I'm happy that we're checking in here on this GT1 category. I can say that Matt Steele has pretty much dominated the race outside of the first maybe lap and a half. I do feel for Mark Rondeau back there in third place because he did have that contact as he was passing a lap car. It took him out of second place, and he just hasn't had the pace anymore to compete up there with Federico Del Toro.
It's definitely been another missed opportunity for Federico and Mark, because when they were within reach of Matt, they were keeping pace. They're doing a great job. Like you said, as soon as they each had issues, they started to drop away, and then from there, it's all kind of faded. And Matt Steele has had real control of the field with now less than a third left to go as we see him swing around across the start-finish line. It's all the way up to 7 seconds now. In fact, yeah, you can't see the next car back on the front straightaway. That's how big the gap is.
It's back to his winning ways, it certainly seems. Is this Roxy-themed pink number 4 car. Just keep it consistent out there, and it certainly seems like he will definitely collect another win. Something I was noticing, Joe, on the timing and scoring board, seems like Will Castillo closing in that gap to Dustin Heindel.
Ooh, that'll make things interesting. Remember, they were all kind of fighting with one another before when we saw the issue from Michael Johnson. And also, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, we want to remind you that now is the perfect time to sign up for iRacing or renew your subscription as they have their Black Friday sale. 25% off for renewals and 50% off for new subscribers. So definitely take advantage of that. Down the back straightaway, Matt Steele just going to allow this little fight to carry on. Dylan Scott versus Michael Bolton. That's for sixth position. You know, the amazing thing is, despite so many of these prototypes having issues, there is only one prototype a lap down. That's Chad Duncan. Everybody else is still on the lead lap.
And to your point, this car right here, remember Dylan Scott was our first car out pretty much right here at the top of the hill on lap number 1. The cold tires, he just stood on the gas and made contact with that driver's left wall. So he immediately had to come down and get that new car. And here he is fighting for what is 6th place with that bright yellow highlighter color. Michael Bolton right in front of him.
I think what surprises me the most is that it's a minute 10 lap times around here, and yet even having to take the spare car, so many of them have managed to stay on the lead lap. So they did an excellent job of getting in and out as quickly as possible. Oh, Heindel has lost his 3rd place. Will Castillo snuck by, but he gives it right back. And once again, it is the treacherous turn 5 that steals it away. I feel like this is a corner that needs a name of some sort.
Trust me, Joe, I have spun there twice in professional competition myself, both times on corner exit. It's tricky. It is so tricky. You're trying to get every last little bit of speed, and you have to be aggressive up over it. It's no wonder why it causes so many issues.
I feel like we need to call it Lucifer or something, because the devil went down to Georgia. So it just
you know, it is red clay down there too.
Exactly. Yeah, there's just so many good tie-ins. But we've got that fight between Scott and Bolton surviving through the left-hander this time. And Bolton still holding the upper hand in 6th. Dylan Scott going to try and fight back. He's got the momentum of the win last time to hopefully help urge him forward. Can Bolton manage to deny him? This is a good run from Dylan off of turn 7, honestly.
See if he can do anything with it here. Slowly closing it in. Not a huge difference in that top speed, which kind of tells me that maybe Dylan Scott is slightly more aggressive on the downforce level. Look at that drive. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Through the slow speed stuff and through the turns, Dylan Scott is going to have the superior machine. Down the straightaways, that highlighter is just going to go streaking away with the top speed. So it's a little bit of a pass. Dylan's going to have to be forceful about it.
And especially with so few laps left, that's not going to give many opportunities. You heard Joey mention it. Main place to try and pass is coming down in a 10A at the chicane. And yet there's not many other places where realistically you can get a shot in, as we cut over to Mark Rondeau now. And he's caught up to Federico Del Toro. So it might not be a battle for the win, but these two have managed to find one another once again.
It's just been excellent laps from Rondeau to be able to hunt him down. Let's see if Dylan Scott can maybe do anything. I think it's going to be coming from the corner exit. Remember how we saw Michael Johnson capitalize coming out of the turn 10A, 10B complex? I think that's what we're going to have to see out of Dylan Scott here. Maybe try to make Bolton go in a little bit of deep. There's the lockup. Now he's going to try to put the power down, get the drive off. He is to the right rear quarter panel. He has a little bit of a loose moment. That kills the momentum that he needed.
Big stuff here between Dylan Scott and Chad Duncan, or Michael Bolton, excuse me, coming through the final couple corners. And Dylan is looking a little bit antsy out there. We saw him kind of weaving and darting down into the braking, trying to see if there's an opening. He's got to stay patient.
You gotta be consistent, right? Even if you're trying to make a pass and you're unpredictable, sometimes that competitor in front of you might not know exactly where you are on the track, and it can lead to contact. So here we go again. Oh, really big slip up from Bolton out of turn number 7. Let's see if Dylan Scott's machine actually has the top speed in order to pass the car in the straightaway. This is tough here.
Surely that's enough of a draft, and there it is. Now he's starting to pick up Can he make it stick? Down to the braking. He's fully ahead by the time they get on the binders, but coming back at him, Bolton is just as good on the brakes, and he's going to cut back underneath and get him right back. Oh, he almost had it done. They're still going to stay wheel to wheel out of the corner, almost banging doors, and coming back with the momentum. Dylan Scott finally shuts the door into turn one.
I think he slammed the door right there in turn number one. He had been working on that pass for some laps now. Now he finally can kind of have that downforce on the front end of the machine. Doesn't have to deal with any of that dirty air being kicked up in front of him. He makes it through turn number 5, knock on wood, although that was a little bit loose on exit there. And it seems like Mark Rondeau has, in fact, made the pass late in the race here on Federico Del Toro.
Indeed, he did. I was trying to see real quick if I can find where that happened, and it looks like coming out of the chicane, once again, like you said, just using the exit here, coming off this corner up the hill, it can pay big dividends down the main straight into turn one, and that's how he got it done. But they're going to be on the final lap here now that they've crossed the line, because that's what the number 82 is on. White flag has been waved. BJ Fulton looking for win number 4 here. If he can just take it through the last chicane one final time, he is a full 6 seconds clear of Michael Johnson. It didn't look like he was really threatened since early in the race. He started this one from the pole. This is a great response for BJ Fulton to bring it back to the top and win at Road Atlanta.
A very well-managed race from that number 82. Nice job from Michael Johnson to come home with the second place position. Dustin Heindel will round out that podium. Remember, Michael had a few little issues there in the middle of the race. And here is Matt Steele, our leader of the GT1 category. Yes, he was just 3 wide on the back straightaway, passing some lap cars, and now dealing with a car trying to go down the inside here, just having a little bit of fun on the playground. It is recess time, and the boys are out there playing, but Matt Steele picks up another win after falling off of the podium last time out. He's back on top.
That's because Momeyer was passing Schulem for position. That's why he was fighting hard as these two are fighting, and it's going to be Bolton who comes away with it over Dylan Scott, passing him at the final time in the last corner. And that's going to be frustrating for Dylan Scott after the highs of last week. Unfortunately, racing can't always see you on top forever. But it did see BJ Fulton come out on top today. He is your winner in the prototype class in the number 82, extending his points lead over his rivals. Michael Johnson was second today, and Dustin Heindel was P3. Will Castillo came home in P4, while Ian Roche was in 5th. After that, it was Michael Bolton in 6th, Dylan Scott 7th. We saw them cross the line a 10th of a second apart. Jad Duncan a lap down in 8th, and AJ Roper, unfortunately, our only DNF today with a disconnect.
Over to the other class, Matt Steele does stand on top again. Mark Rondeau, I think, is today's story, really coming back and claiming that second place over Federico Del Toro, who finishes in 3rd. Adam Abrams will finish in 4th place with John Momeyer in 5th. Jeffrey Schulem here in 6th place. Larry Haas, 7th. Jim Garamani, 8th. And Doug Boccignone will finish 9th.
Looks like we've got our winners ready to talk to us, including the prototype winner, BJ Fulton. And as we said, he needed a response this week to come away with some better points. And BJ, you really did rebound in an excellent way. You controlled it pretty much from start to finish.
Yeah, I was feeling it. It was really good. I was in the zone, and just kept it focused. Tried to be a little bit conservative around traffic, which bit me at some points, but ended up working out in the end.
We were noticing that. Were you feeling a little nervous? Did it make you push traffic a little harder in the second half when you saw second and third start to catch you?
Actually, it was kind of the opposite. I thought I saw a gap opening up behind me, and so I took it even easier. I thought I had some room to play with, and then all of a sudden, MJ was right there on my tail again, so I had to pick it up.
Well, pick it up you did, coming home with the win. 3 races left to go. You're in the points lead. What's your mindset right now?
Just trying to keep it clean and consistent in the top 5 every race, and I should be good.
All right, we'll watch out for those results. And again, congratulations on the win.
Thanks a lot.
BJ Fulton, your victor here today. And the victor once again down in the GT1s. Joey has caught up with Matt Steele.
Hello. Matt, first of all, congratulations. You're back on top.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that probably felt a little bit better than last round, yeah?
Yeah, I feel like we had a race in like Brazil or Interlagos or something. I seem to recall something, but I don't know. It was forgettable.
So I got to ask you, because I think this was your one mistake that you really had today, is what was forcing the issue on the initial start, which kind of lost you the lead?
Well, so the way we lined up, I was actually in the outside line, which is usually the second position line. But because there was an odd number of LMPs, I was sort of alongside an LMP, starting kind of on the outside line with Federico starting a row behind me on the right. And as soon as the green flag hit, it took kind of everybody by surprise because it was so early on the straight. And the person who was lined up to my right, I don't remember who it was in the yellow-green car, everybody sort of checked up, which caused me to have to check up. And then he kind of dove across my front, which caused me to have to check up again, which got Federico up alongside. So I just kind of got caught up in the traffic of the GTPs ahead and kind of had to give the position to Federico on that turn 1 and then just kind of wait until a moment. I think it was a lap or two later, I was able to get him down in the 10A. But,
yeah, that's kind of exactly what I saw from it visually as well there. But back on top here, does this change how you look at the rest of the season, or is it just kind of same old, keep doing the same thing and find you back here in first?
Same old. I'm just gonna, keep wood shedding and getting comfortable quick lap times at the tracks. Honestly, what happened at Interlagos was the first spin I had in the whole week of practice. Was on lap 1 in that corner. And so I was pretty frustrated as soon as I felt the rear end come around. So, it was kind of an anomaly. So, it's just, for me, it's just head down, getting comfortable with hitting the marks and getting a good tempo together. And then usually just kind of shakes out from there. Although Federico's getting fast. He's been doing a lot of coaching, a lot of training, and kind of getting really prepared for these races. And he's proven to be, and Doug as well. Mark Rondeau is right up there. I mean, this 1, 2, and 3 for this race, we were separated by like a tenth, less than a tenth. So it's exciting. It's fun.
Well, keep it up out there. Congrats on the win. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Just my family, if they're watching. I think my son's watching from Mexico right now, which is lovely. You guys do an amazing job. So thank you.
Well, that was Matt Steele finding his way back on top of the podium in his familiar spot.
Another podium today was Michael Johnson. Definitely had some fights out there, but the big question I have for you, Michael, is what are your feelings on brake-by-wire? It looked like at one point it wasn't your favorite thing in the world.
I have no idea what happened there. I think the car and I are so in tune. So I do things with D's. I drive, I dive, like scuba diving, and I also dance. And I think it wanted to do the dance thing and pirouette. So I figured that's got to be what's going on here. Is it decided it wanted a pirouette and then give something exciting, for that fight back into position.
Joey wants me to remind you that there's 5 Ds in dodgeball, so you're missing a couple there. But talk about that move, though, that you pulled on Dustin Heindel to take P2. We were pretty wowed by the over-under. Was there some track knowledge you were pulling from to help you there?
Well, I'd love to say yes. That this is like when I drove it in the 80s, and that's how we did it. But that part wasn't there in the 80s. It was different through that section. But I have basic understanding of over under there, and I've coached people through here, and I've seen them develop this kind of pass here. So I saw it, and as soon as he committed to one side, I knew where I was going and I knew how I was going to make the pass. So I was able to get around the outside of 10A and just have the nose in. And then he was off speed going through 10B, and I was able to just pull back out and launch through, and there was little to no chance at that point. And fortunately, I had the speed. I was about 2/10 a lap catching up to him, so I felt like I could probably hold my own. It was an interesting pass. I had planned that one. I set it up that way, and I had a reasonable 95% chance it was going to work.
Well, again, it was still a fun race to watch, some great battles, and congratulations on a P2 today.
Thanks, and thanks to Truffle Shuffle and everybody out there, T-Mobile for Business. Everyone's fantastic. Love you guys, love the broadcast, POC, and all the fans out there who watch.
That was P2, Michael Johnson in the prototypes. I think we've got third place as well. Sounds like Joey's caught up with Dustin Heindel.
Yeah, Dustin Heindel, congratulations on the podium here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, honestly, it was really unexpected. I kind of just winged it today. I showed up at quali. I did like a 30-minute practice session, but this was kind of unexpected.
So I got two main questions for you. Did you think you were going to survive after lap 2?
Wait, what lap was it where I had to dodge so
lap
quickly?
2.
Oh, that was lap 2. Okay, man, it seemed like so long ago. I don't know how I got out of there alive, to be honest. I knew the grass is safe because I like to go in the grass, so that was my first instinct.
Hey, it worked out for you.
Yeah. Oh man, I heard you talking about the pass. Yeah, man, he was definitely faster, but I don't know, he was eventually going to pass me anyway. I don't know if he saw me go off track later when I was trying to catch him, but I was basically messing with the energy system and I got all confused and then went completely off track and blew my opportunity to fight him later. But I think either way, he would have still gotten second. I just wanted to make it tougher for him.
I think you did a terrific job out there today. I got to ask you, Will Castillo up there at the very, very end of the race, were you a little bit surprised by that speed that just kind of came out of nowhere?
That was a totally legitimate pass. Like, I did, have my little kerfuffle, like, in that put me in attacking range of him, but he caught me and passed me completely. Like, I tried to defend it, but no, he got me. And then, unfortunately, he totally blew it not long after. But he's really fast. He's gotten so much faster in these cars.
Well, great job today on the podium here. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
My wife for taking care of everything else while I can sit here and play video games at night.
That is the ultimate shout out right there. Big time shout out to Mrs. Heindel, Dustin Heindel, finishing in third place here today, Joe.
Absolutely. And we've got second place ready to talk to us in the GT1 class, Mark Rondeau. And wanted to ask him a little bit about how today went, because you had some trouble with traffic. If you think it wasn't for that, would you have been able to keep up with Matt Steele?
I don't think I could have caught Matt. He was on fire today. I just had to pedal like crazy to catch back up to Federico, and I got lucky and was able to get back around him.
You've been reeling in Doug Baccignone as well, and he had a bad day due to a connection issue, but I believe your fifth straight podium in a row. Does that feel like momentum's in your favor to maybe take P2 in the championship?
It feels like I might be able to do that. I've been driving well, and last two events I've come back really well.
That you have, very much so. Made up a lot of points after 2 zeros on the first two races. Well, congratulations on a podium, and we'll keep an eye on you because you've definitely been raising some eyebrows here in the booth.
Well, thanks.
It's Mark Rondeau finishing second today and definitely giving Matt Steele a run for his money for the first part of it. Up next, real quick, we've got one more to talk to. Looks like Joey's going to chat with Federico Del Toro.
Yeah, Federico Del Toro, who finished third in the GT1 class, is here with us now. I got to say, that was a pretty cool start. That was a nice move on that opening green flag. Oh, Federico, do we have a copy?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've got you loud and clear now.
Yeah, I got the lead for a couple of laps, so I know what it feels like now.
Do you think that was a confidence boost to be able to go out there? I know you didn't hold it the entire race, but like you said, you got a little bit of a taste of it.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a taste, and you know, you gotta lose a bunch before you win some. So, yeah, that was a good experience out there, and I still lose a lot of time every time I get lapped. So I gotta learn. You know, like I said, it's getting better.
It's all practice. It's always a learning experience out there. I think you're doing a terrific job on the racetrack. So keep doing what you're doing. Is there anybody you want to say hi to?
No, not really. Everybody, like I said, everybody's been really nice. You guys are doing a great job. So nothing. Just keep going. Next race, I'm out, but I'll be back for VIR.
Well, put the head down, and we'll see you here in a couple rounds' time. Joe, that was Federico Del Toro driving the number 27 car today, finishing in third place.
That's going to wrap up our interviews. Before we go, one last mention of the best deal that you can get all year long on iRacing. Black Friday, 50% off if you're a new member, 25% off if you're simply renewing. Both of those fantastic deals, and that's for either 1 year or 2-year subscriptions. Also, thanks to our sponsors, Porsche, there is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com, and Top Gun MG. Contact them today at TopGunMG.com. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next time, we're going to cross the pond. We're going to Hockenheim. That'll be Monday, December 2nd at 10 p.m. Eastern. That said, be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here. And until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
Yeah.